All right, we'll go ahead and get started with the November 11th Urban Experience Committee. And it's a special committee because it's Veterans Day. So thank you to all our veterans out there and those veterans that are serving on the dais with us. Thank you, Councilmember Klitsky. Well, just for everyone's awareness, we're going to take number 1 and number 12 on the consent agenda and have those briefed. So we'll have Sarah brief those when you do all the other ones too on your item. And then we'll start with number 1 on the discussion items with our monthly permit report with Tammy Palmquist.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, we've had a really good month. Good news to share. Highest total housing units issued on record ever. So, 1354. We broke previous record of 1340, which was 2023. Highest job values on record ever, 704. So we still have 2 months left to go in the year for reporting. So we're doing very well. People are still building. We're still, seeing stuff come in. Housing units issued in October, 111, 6th highest October on record. Year to date with last year, housing units are up 10%, building permits are up 16%, job values for permits are up 50%. Short-term rentals are up 31%. So what we're starting to see is as people are becoming more aware of the long-term rental registry, they're realizing, oh, we do need to get the short-term rental registered as well and get those short-term rental permits as well. So we will start to see letters going out for people to come into compliance with the short-term rentals as well. We are in phase 1 of the new permit system implementation. So we have completed the planning aspect of it. So knowing what we want to transfer over, what types of records, what types of incidences, what types of events, learning the new lingo for the new permitting system, and figuring out how to speak that same language where we called it one thing in Acela, but we're going to call it something else in Llama. So we're, getting up to date with the terminology, and but things have been going well, still proceeding smoothly so far. Fee study. So I'm going to talk a little bit after these numbers about it as well, but I got the final report back to the consultant to make some little tweaks. The fee table is going back to the consultant today. We need to check on one last thing with the boilers program and just make sure that we've got it dialed in. And then we are going to come to study session December 5th. So we'll have 90 minutes with you guys to go over everything. Another thing that I've started doing, well, not started, but really encouraged my staff to do is to start doing more tours on projects that they've reviewed. So, we're so focused on looking at them in plan review that we don't actually get out there, either do ride-alongs with inspectors, or I've been taking groups out. So this month we toured both Millennium projects, the one on Monroe and the one on North Hill. And so we had staff members from the permit techs, the plan review, planning, engineering. So just getting out there and talking to the developers, learning, Millennium was interesting, just their type of financing and what they do is a little bit different. So hearing from them where their challenges are and how what we do helps them or hurts them. Luckily James had great things to say. We met with James and Anthony, and but it was just really good to get staff out there to hear directly from the developers how much it impacts the community. So really good feedback from staff as well. So total permit applications are up 6% over the 4-year average for the year to date through current month, and current year is up as well. Total construction permits issued, we again are up above the 4-year averages. Public and private job values. Again, still seeing that private continuing to rise, continuing to invest, public down a bit, well, quite a bit over the last few years, but we're seeing less and less bonds for schools. That's part of it. Our libraries, we did all of those remodels already, so. Multifamily housing units permitted, we are up year to date. Current month was a pretty good month for multifamily. I'm not keeping up with my notes. Some of the ones that we've permitted are the Garland Apartments and the South Freya multifamily apartments. Single family, we're, kind of around the same. We're on target to exceed 21. We've got 99 houses in current, in plan review right now. So that would put us on pace to get over 300, which would beat 21. So that's exciting news. Single family is still happening. Oh, I know, that's why my pages are out of order from those. So multifamily. And then total residential. So again, we're 33% increase over the 3-year average. Continuing just to see more and more residential come in. Single family permitted. I keep going the wrong way, that's why. Certificate of occupancy, some big ones were the 508 building, the change of use, and the Gonzaga Residence Hall. That was 53 units. The 508 building was 118 units. Residential units currently in plan review. As I said before, we've got 99 single family, 26 duplexes, 1,237 multifamily. And then 108 changes of use. So now we're starting to see some of the future units go down because they're being submitted and they're in plan review now. 120 of the units in plan review were actually approved as of November 1st. So that's good again. Falls Tower, not yet, but grading and foundations are approved. So that's why you'll see them working. So they're working on the utility, they're working on the foundation, but the ground up building has not been issued yet. It's in review. So here you can see the valuations for the district, different districts. District 2 is up right now. And then upcoming growing neighborhoods, Cliff Cannon, Southgate, East Central, Lincoln Heights are where we're seeing a lot of housing right now. Largest projects issued by construction value. Again, you'll see most of these are residential. We still have Jubilant was there, but again, just mostly large residential complexes. Largest projects issued in October, the SAA new administration building and the Garland Apartments, 44 units. And then these are in plan review. So again, lots of residential. Noto Normandy is still working on, they had some revisions come back in, so they're making progress. We're still working on them. Peyton Building has been approved. We're just making sure that they don't pull it until they get all their financing. They wanted to use the office to people conversion tax through the state. So we're working with them. We have issued the obstruction permits for that one as well. And we're working with both the Peyton and the Falls to look at some of these long-term obstructions and how we work with the developers on those. Pros Apartments have been essentially approved. There's a special inspection that we need and another easement. So the plans are approved, ready to go. We're just waiting for a couple documents to get in. So that's another big one that's exciting. So any other questions on permit data? Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
And then just for the fee schedule, you know, we've got most of the information done. The consultant is working on that. We're working with them this week on the presentation that we'll give you on the 5th. So if there are specific questions that you have, please reach out to me so that we can make sure we address those. Or if there's things that you really want to see, I'd be happy to meet with you guys if you have questions beforehand. We will be introducing this December 2nd so that we can get ahead of the end of the year, because we did rely on some of these projections for our budget next year. And then we'll have the study session on the 5th and hopefully decision or hearing on the 9th.
Yeah, Councilmember.
But is there a draft of something that you can share out earlier
Yes,
than that?
we're gonna get everything out to you well before. My goal is to get everything uploaded before the 22nd, which is the drop dead date. But yeah, as soon as we have those draft documents, hopefully by the end of the week, we can start getting some stuff out to you guys.
Okay. And then the one question I'll probably have is just thinking about inspections, because I know some of this will apply, you know, increasing fees for inspections. Just what are alternatives that we've explored? You know, during COVID, we allowed a lot of video type inspection options, and just have we explored all of those to try to keep those costs down?
Yes, so the new permitting system will allow for virtual inspections and photographic. So the roofing process is one. We will still keep those, and in fact, it'll be, those systems are already built into the llama process, so it should hopefully be easier than what we've band-aided together in Acela right now. But yes, we are looking at those, all those alternatives. Those are also part of the grant that we got from Commerce. We have to look at those alternative methods as well. So we're also making sure that we look at other jurisdictions. We want to be regionally competitive. We don't want to be the highest. We don't want to be the lowest. We want to be competitive with L&I too, because we're one of the few jurisdictions around here that does our own electrical, elevator, boiler inspections. We have our own programs. So we're looking at L&I to make sure that we're comparable on those rates as well.
So Tammy, on the fees, I'm sure we'll get the schedule. In that, is there something that will be attached to inflation, that the fees will automatically go up, or
We
an
want
ordinance
to
that we'll
do,
review?
yeah, like a CPI index to
Okay.
make sure that we're staying on track and we're staying, you know, we're not having, we haven't raised rates since 2008. So we want to make sure that we're staying current. But the other thing that I want to propose, and I talked a little bit about this with Zappone and Klitsky at the meeting last week, is we want to, once we get llama implemented, the new permitting system, that will have much better time tracking built into it, like how long it takes the staff to review this, how many staff are touching this permit. So we'll have more data. At about 18 months of data, I want to go through this process again and really look, you know, did we have bad data that came out of Acela? Are we really capturing our cost of service? Are there some that are not taking as long as we thought now because we have a new system? Can we reduce those rates? So I want to do that at about 18 months, and then I think every 3 years we should look at rates just to make sure we're on track.
Thank you.
Yep, Councilman.
I guess, so is what you're bringing forward then going to tie this to some sort of rate of inflation, or it is?
Yes.
So I guess, and there's probably not an issue with that, but, you know, there's always external factors of, if you have a housing crisis, perhaps you're trying to do things a little differently to, you know, incentivize or keep prices low, or, you know, so different decisions. And I just think, you know, with like water rates, we set the rates and then we revisit them. So I guess with this, why would we just set them and then kind of just let them go?
That's, I think the intent was, in the first few years, because we're migrating to a new permitting system that will have better tracking data, we want to make sure that what we did is correct. And then I think revisiting it after a few years, maybe that's to make sure that we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing because we are an enterprise fund. You know, we don't want to overcharge people, but we don't want to undercharge either. We need to be able to recover our costs. So let's talk about that a little bit more.
I guess my only question or ask would be just, could it be set up in a way that even if there is that tie to inflation, at least there'd be a mandatory trigger for council to review or have some kind of
Yeah, no,
because
this would
if,
all have to come back to council. Yeah, so we still see these coming back to council, so you guys have a look at them.
okay, yeah, I just want to make sure that, we're thinking about those things because again, there's external factors that you might want to take into account and choose not to
Completely agree.
increase and, so.
And there were some fees that we chose not to increase because we had just adjusted the fees on minor short plats.
Yeah.
We chose not to increase those because that's a value to the community that we see, okay, this is helping spur that housing. So there were definitely fees that we looked at that, yes, are not meeting our cost of service, but the overall value was very important and we had already made that commitment with them. So yes, I think there are things that we need to look at. We do tend to bring this back to council anytime we're adjusting them.
Perfect, thank you.
And I just want to highlight that timeline again for council members because it's a little unusual for us.
It's very unusual.
It's really because at the end of the year, we're looking at a target of passing the budget December 9th, and that would be our last meeting of the year. And the study session for this would be the Thursday before. So we're bringing it to committee now to check it off. It would be at the advanced agenda on the 25th in 2 weeks. And then we'd have a first reading on the 2nd, but going in depth on the 5th. And then we'd have our second and final hearing on the 9th. So just want to raise that timeline. If you have issues, let Tammy know.
Yeah, it kind of got backwards because you might not meet on the 16th and then I wouldn't have anything till January.
And it's baked into the budget for next year. So we don't want to pass a budget that doesn't have our fees aligned to it. All right, great. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to item number 3 of the agenda, which is the Empire Health and Revive update on the Housing Navigation Center. If Zeke and Lane want to come on down and give us an update. You go
Council
for it.
Committee Chair Zapone and fellow council members, thank you for the opportunity to come and give an update on the Housing Navigation Center. I'll share a little bit and then hand it over to Lane, who can share some more specifics about the Housing Navigation Center. We signed our existing Housing Navigation Center contract with the city, so it was fully executed on October 26th. The Housing Navigation Center, which is operated by Revive, has kind of 3 different functions, I think, that are worth pointing out. One of those is that they are operating 30 beds at the Cannon Street facility. Those are currently occupied primarily by individuals who are transitioned there from the Trent Access Resource Center prior to closure on October 31st. But as those beds become available, we're working on referral for appropriate individuals to those beds as well. And then the other 2 functions, outreach assessment and referral to scattered site shelters when they come online. And I'll say a little bit more about that in a second. And then third, ongoing case management to support individuals moving into appropriate housing and other services and support. So whether they're at the Housing Navigation Center, the Cannon Street facility, or whether they're in other shelter, the intent is that there would be a continuation of case management for those individuals by Revive. About 30% of the existing contract that we have was set aside to support contracts for scattered site shelters. We have 2 shelters currently that we're in the process of, likely this week, getting under contract. One of those is Jules Helping Hands, and then the other one is Truth Ministries. it, in essence, allows those two organizations to continue to operate at full capacity in their existing locations. And that is, in effect, making up the difference between the city contracts for housing services that were released back in July and their existing full capacity. So at Jules Helping Hands, that means that they're operating 2 locations, both on the north side, with a total of 60 beds. The scattered site funding, the funding from the contract that we have, pays for all of those beds for a little over 40% of the year, the rest of the year being covered by the city contract. And the population there is mostly medically fragile. It's both men and women. Truth Ministries, our contract will ensure that they can continue to operate 64 beds in total. 2 of those are City of the Valley, but the other 62 beds are available for folks from the city, and that's at their shelter on Sprague. The funding through the scattered site model will pay for 50 of those beds for the year. That's single men only. We're also in conversations with an additional site and operator for 25 beds, which would be for both men and women, and then one other site for as many as 30 individuals, which would emphasize, prioritize medically fragile. And then we're in conversations, I'm in conversations with faith-based community and neighborhood council leadership this week to see whether and how we might drum up additional capacity in the system. In order to do that, most of that we would be dependent upon additional resources to be able to accomplish that. About $1 million in our existing contract is set aside, and that'll cover the 2 initial contracts with Jules Helping Hands, Truth Ministries, and then likely one additional contract. Do you want to give a little update on the Housing Navigation Center?
Well, I just want clarity. These are all low barrier beds that we're talking about this time, whether at the Cannon and the 2 scatter site models. Okay.
Lane, did you want to add anything? Or
Just mainly, we got our 2 HMIS programs set up today. So the Housing Navigation Center will have a street outreach and a emergency shelter program. So we're able to bring people into the street outreach, get them a full-on housing barriers and behavioral health assessment, and then help them sort of be on a wait list. And that's essentially how we'll fill the beds. But we've also had quite a few meetings with the shelter providers that have gone really wonderfully in the context of just trying to find a better way to communicate around if beds are open, as well as trying to get access to the Shelter Me Spokane site so that we can all have real-time live data, and our outreach providers can be working to find beds across the entire system. And that's already been going really well. Just being able to call them and be like, do you have a bed? And then being able to transport folks over there. So currently, we'll be backloading everyone into the street outreach and the emergency shelter to be able to have data for you guys, as well as starting that process of being able to open and accept referrals and have people kind of on a wait list, but we're also helping them navigate the entire shelter continuum of care, which is just going to be wonderful because we don't want people to be having to call over town or being driven or Ubered all over town just to find out that a bed isn't open. So we're happy about this concept of being able to navigate people to different places because we only have the 30 beds. So looking forward to the other beds being opened because it's cold outside.
And Council President Wilkerson, as a direct response to your question, obviously
Right.
you were going to ask another.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
So you said you're going to do an assessment. Now, I know a number of these people have been assessed and assessed and assessed and assessed. So what difference is this assessment versus the one that was going on when they were closing the track center to back up when they were closing Camp Hope? So what's unique about this assessment that you think will give you a different outcome or different information that will lead to a better outcome?
If you don't mind, I'm going to respond to your previous question
Okay.
first, and then I'll let Lane respond to that question, although I have a thought too. Low barrier is a bit of a term of art, if we're being honest. So what I will say is that those locations will be available to support diversity of individuals. The scattered site shelters are not designed to be walk in at the front door. The intent is that there's a referral process that allows us to ensure that people are getting to the right place. Some of those sites may have a requirement that individuals that are staying there are participating in the additional support services that they offer. And there will be, of course, requirements for kind of general behavior in terms of being involved in those sites. And part of the intent with the scattered site model is that with smaller populations in each of those, we have the ability to tailor those different sites to different populations as well, which is why, so for example, with Jules Helping Hands, where we're talking about primarily serving people who are medically fragile, we want to be intentional about ensuring that the people that are in that environment both can benefit from that, but also that they can contribute to their peers' progress. On your last question about assessment, one thing I'll say that Lane mentioned that I think is really important is that we've been bringing providers together on a consistent basis to really, first of all, to create space for the right kind of collaboration and coordination that's required, but also to come to some commitments together about how we're using and engaging in the information system so that we have better information, which means also that if folks have done assessments and we have that information available, you don't have to do another assessment, but we can pull from what's there. Part of the challenge right now is in this scenario that you mentioned in terms of somebody leaving track, it's not necessarily true that that information is going to be available. In this situation, because Revive was involved in both, there's some good coordination there. But do you want to share more about this assessment in particular?
Yeah, I mean, the other main thing is that the city's come out with the SALA coordinated entry assessment. And so that is a much faster and less intrusive way of getting housing-related and disability barriers-related information. So in being able to utilize a SALA assessment, it's a quick way to get everyone into coordinated entry. And people are more willing to do it because it's not as intrusive as the SPDAT. We also provide a gains assessment, and we do have triage with behavioral health. So we're really trying to help people recognize that like housing is healthcare, and when you have behavioral health on board in the housing system, people aren't experiencing the barriers to housing they did that has to do with their behavioral health. So we're connecting people with MAT services, coordinating with inpatient treatment, every different provider in town who does anything medical, getting people set up with primary care through CHAS, Providence Community Clinic, as well as looking at that gains and triaging to our behavioral health providers who are then completing mental health or SED assessments to be able to get access to care or to start actual outpatient services. We will be providing peer support groups that are relapse prevention, community building, self advocacy, skill building, those kinds of groups on site at the Hive, and people will be able to engage in all of that behavioral health related supports, especially like drug treatment, whether it's inpatient or outpatient level. And so we're just trying to really bring behavioral health into the housing system. And so it's different, and it's trying not to be too long and overly involved. It's based on how they score on a gains, whether or not they're referred. And then, of course, it's also based on whether or not they want to go through an intake process for that. But it's adding another layer of supports to folks who've been experiencing barriers due to co-occurring disorders.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, I've got a couple questions. First off, what has been, since the Navigation Center opened, what has been the daily average turnover of the beds?
We rehoused 2 permanently already, and the track population's pretty stable population, so that's, for the month of October, that's who we let in, was as we were closing track. They've been great. I think we've only lost 2, and we were able to refill from intake assessments we had done at the door that week as we were waiting for CMS to come on. We were just keeping an Excel sheet of folks who were referred over, but we are getting like 1 million calls, and we are getting people just Ubered and dropped off at the front door. And so we're really excited to have the CMS program set up now because we can do that intake right there on site. We also opened up intake times in the afternoons every day of the week, so people are showing up and they want to actually come in for to engage in a process. We're able to do those. Some folks are just showing up kind of looking for shelter, and at that point we're trying to kind of navigate them to a shelter bed, and we had inclement weather beds open last week too, so it was awesome to be able to work with House Charity and Hope House and be able to get folks into those places as they were showing up as well.
So I guess part of my question is, in visiting Houston, their navigation center, the goal was you're basically there 2 to 3 days. Sounds like we're now at 3 weeks plus. Like, how long is it going to take to get us down to 2 to 3 days? They're in, they're out, and we've moved them along the process.
I mean, Councilmember Cathcart,
And I don't mean they've exited homelessness. I mean they've
Yeah.
been
Your
moved
que-
to the proper place that they're supposed to
Your
be.
question, I think, assumes, or the answer to your question assumes that we have plenty of space in other types of housing, shelter, transitional housing, permanent housing. And so part of our challenge as a system is that we've got blockages all the way through the system. So the reality is that it's hard for me to imagine without significant additional resources built in when we would get to a place where we have 2 to 3 days as the regular and consistent process for how long people are in the navigation center as a space, which was also part of the challenge that we saw at TRAC as well. I mean, many of the folks who were at TRAC were actually there for a long, long time because it provided them with the most stable opportunity for them to have a place to be.
So, but how do we then move in a direction that really starts to see significant exits from homelessness? I mean, I feel like if we're doing these assessments, we're doing all this work, we're providing behavioral health, but at the end of the day, there's really no change in condition, then how are we actually providing, a path then to exit the situation that they're in?
The SALA assessment provides a lot more clarity on getting folks who are able to maintain long-term housing into the housing options and coordinated entry, as well as the project-based vouchers are kind of the only ones left. So everyone who's coming into the Hive is engaged and motivated to get housing, and then we just get them on every list in town that they're available for, and then they kind of sit and engage and wait. We did move the TRAC population in, so it isn't we were opening the beds for TRAC and we were opening the beds for winter. I think that we have this next year to kind of build this model out and continue assessing the additional resources that could be supportive of getting folks out. And I would say like 30 days, because I mean, that's how long it sort of takes. I mean, there's like a 700 backup pool just in coordinated entry, just for rapid rehousing qualifying individuals. So like, we have all these backlogs and wait lists, but the big thing is that we're going to be able to get folks into some of the low income and project-based housing opportunities who will actually be able to maintain those, while we're also working on the population, working with the population who has co-occurring disorders and maybe needs more access to aging and long-term care, or they need that transitional setting where they're doing like inpatient for 7 days, a month, 90 days, and then they have that place to transition out to build whether or not they're going to be able to get employed and look for housing and pay for their own, or look at going into services through like an aging and long-term care assisted living due to having disabilities. The cool thing about this process is it can allow to serve multiple populations with multiple needs across the different shelter beds and provide them with a pathway to stability that's going to help them with successful long-term housing stability. So we don't just see folks going into project-based or permanent supportive housing and then being kicked out in like 3 days because they didn't have their behavioral health needs met. So it's stabilizing and it's getting folks into places where they can be successful long-term.
Yeah, I guess I hear that, but it's really limited to 30 people. I mean, there's all this, we're going to put potentially more money into street outreach and all this stuff today, and it's like, to what end? Because if you only have 30 beds and we're not able to turn them over daily, which I think is the whole point of a navigation center, I just don't really understand what the goal or the outcome is when there's no, the system is not established nor being established in a way that's going to support those individuals. You go out, you do street outreach, you made a connection, great, but that person is just left on the street. So how do we make sure that there's that space on a rotating basis every day? We're able to move people in, move people out, and have this really work.
Yeah, for us to be in a position that's similar to Houston would require that our local government and our state government would invest quite a bit more in the different kinds of services that are required. Part of what Houston had is they both built the navigation center and they invested a significant amount of money in additional housing options to meet the needs of those individuals. So part of the challenge is we know that we've got these blockages that we've talked about in the system, right? We have no medical respite beds in the system right now. So if somebody is leaving the hospital and they don't have a place to go where they can take care of the additional medical supports that they need, they end up on the street. We have no medical respite beds. So we know we could fill 30 of those tomorrow with individuals if we had them available. So part of this is about figuring out how we build out those different options that are available. The second part of it, which I think is a really important part of the conversation for all of us, is we have to increase coordination so we're not building these systems as separate pieces. It's not like there's a street outreach system that should function on its own over here, a shelter system that functions on its own over here, and then permanent housing that functions on its own over here. And yet, if we're being honest, that is the way that our system has often operated. And so part of what we're trying to do here as well is to build some more connectivity and so, across that system, including increasing our ability to have valid information that can help inform where should we build the next. Is it respite beds? Is it something different? Where should we focus our energies and attention in terms of the different options that we'll have available? Until we get the rest of that built out, we're going to end up, whether it's the Housing Navigation Center, whether it's TRAC, whether it's something else, we're still going to have this same sort of backlog that occurs and be frustrated by the outcomes of the system.
I'm going to go to Councilmember Dillon and then come back so we can rotate.
Just first of all, thank you both for all your work. I know this is hard work and appreciate you all stepping up and pulling all these pieces together. Just want to ask again, I think maybe speak a little bit more on kind of the blockages and I guess let's say, the dominoes kind of fall into place and we're able to get, state funding in 2025 for medical respite beds. Where do you see this trajectory and all of this going if we're talking a year from now? I mean, I guess what would you want to envision for these issues in Spokane?
Thanks for the question. Personally, I would want to see us have a much better sense of how to answer some of the questions that Councilmember Cathcart is asking, not in the macro, we don't have enough, the system blockage, but actually in a way where we can really target and be clear about which populations we're talking about where we don't have the right kinds of services. We can do some of that right now. We can say we've got too many individuals that are addicted to fentanyl. In order to get off of that, even if they're ready to, they need at least 90 days worth of inpatient treatment. We don't have that capacity, but we don't really have the right sort of numbers to be able to inform the kind of strategic decision-making that's required to be able to fill those gaps, because a lot of those things are going to take us years to be able to address. So I think over the course of the next year, there's really three things that we're trying to do. One is we're trying to model what it looks like when we can build some additional capacity in some of these areas and see to the degree to which they effectively meet the needs of those populations or not. And if they don't, then we won't keep down that track. Two, trying to figure out how we can also keep our eyes on the bigger picture, which allows us to talk about how these systems have to really fit together. And three, bringing people together to be able to coordinate across those different pieces. Hopefully in a year, we'll be able to say more effectively as a system, not just us, but as a system, here's where we're doing things well, and here's where we're not doing things well, or we need to actually build some additional capacity in the system to be able to accomplish things. And hopefully we've had enough of that conversation together that we can actually make the case to other funders in our system so that we're not just depending on one-time funding to be able to support this.
I'll just add also that it has to do with the needs of the different populations who are experiencing homelessness. And so because we've had a backed up system for such a long time, people are actually chronically homeless, makes them harder to get access to permanent leases, right? So what we really need across the system is if you're someone who can recover from opioid addiction and get on MAT and start working, I can get you a house pretty quick as long as you've had a couple months worth of bank statements, and you might have to work on your credit repair. If you have a criminal history, our organization has great landlords. They don't care about criminal history. They care that the person's going to pay the rent and not bother the neighborhood, right? And so we can get folks with criminal histories, but if that person also has like an eviction on their record, especially if they owe funding, we're trying to utilize client assistance funds to be able to pay off past eviction debts, make new deals with landlords. As far as 2 to 3 days, sometimes the stuff that has to be cleaned up in someone's past, even though they are functioning and could function and maintain long-term housing, sometimes takes a while between like credit and eviction histories. But bringing behavioral health in allows us to look at people's levels of functioning and say, okay, this person's pathway is they can get a job, we can reduce some barriers, we can improve their credit, they're going to be able to function and pay their own rent the old-fashioned way. And we have housing for that, for sure. A lot of folks in the system are disabled, and so we have to look at where the low-income housing or project-based housing or permanent supportive housing options are, and we have to get the vouchers back. So we just lost like all the vouchers. And so that creates a huge barrier on even us being able to utilize like rapid rehousing dollars, because typically we're bringing folks in, we're getting them a lease under rapid rehousing rent for a couple months, but then we're connecting them to that SHA voucher, so they have that long-term housing choice voucher, and boom, you're permanently housed and you have a voucher supporting you, and you can make some income or no income and you'll still have housing. Trying to navigate what the populations need is the big piece, and then create the housing based on what's needed. And if we have a bunch of folks who are elderly, disabled, and have no income and no ability to get income, that's where you have to see the low-income housing come in.
Anybody else before?
I was just going to make a comment. Also, we haven't talked about providers, the number of providers that are needed to do this work. I think there needs to be capacity and support for them to grow those services, because that has not happened in Spokane. There's been a lot of startups that came with ARPA funding and to meet those needs, but there was never any built-in sustainability for their work. And I think we're starting to see that pain as they're struggling to do what they've been doing to serve our population. So,
Councilman Cathcart.
Yeah, well, and on that note, one of the things Houston did was try to realign a lot of the work providers did to really emphasize the things that were necessary. And I don't know that we really had those conversations. That was sort of one of the things the regional approach was leading to. But you said something earlier that got me thinking. So you said that you're renewing contracts for 2 of the scattered sites up north. I did not realize that we had sort of transferred that to you guys. So really, there is no more council role for any of the scattered sites, right? It's all through you. So I'm just trying to understand, where's the transparency to the public, to us even, to understand what's happening with those scattered sites? You said you're meeting with neighborhood leadership. Can you share which neighborhoods? Trying to understand what are the impacts coming down to each of our districts?
Well, thanks for the question, Councilmember Cathcart. We are standing in front of you right now, having a discussion about this, so, and being, I think, as transparent as possible about that. I didn't share a couple of the providers that we're talking with right now, because we actually would like to be able to share that when we're clear that they're going to be able to do this, and that we've had the right sort of conversations with leadership in neighborhoods about that. We'll be trying to get, I think I'll be on the agenda this Thursday for I forget what they call it, but the
Study session
coalition of
or-
council members,
the
so it'll
assembly.
be all neighborhood councils for whom people show up to that. And then we're also having individual conversations with neighborhood council leaders as they ask for conversations about that. I think it'd be great to have a regular opportunity to update you all on specifically how we're building out that system and what contracts we have for what sort of scattered site models. We still do work directly with CHHS and don't take any of those moves without talking to them first. So the city still has a direct role there, and you all approved the funding for the work that we're doing. So there's a direct relationship there from a funding accountability level as well.
Well, and it did just come to my attention just a week ago that apparently there was another effort to site a shelter right next door to SCC's campus in the Chief Gary neighborhood, where we already have shelter after shelter after shelter, which is why I think it's important that we have some information, transparency, which is a challenging word in this building sometimes, but I think it's important that we understand where you're looking, where those conversations are being held, because I will tell you, I have direct knowledge that there have been multiple conversations with neighborhoods where they have been told not to invite their council members. And I want to make sure that that is not what's happening here, and that council members are fully aware and read in on what's happening.
I don't think you're speaking to something that I said, Councilmember Cathcart.
No, I'm not speaking to something you said. This
You're
is
speaking to me
something
about
that's
it,
something that was said by staff in this
Great.
building,
Yeah.
not by you. But I just want to make it clear that, to me, that's not an acceptable approach. And I think that council members should at least be invited into the conversation.
I agree.
Look, Ariel, do you have some thoughts? And then we're going to move on to next items.
I just wanted to add that in terms of identifying EHF as the operator, that was very clearly outlined in the RFP and kind of what that relationship would look like between the operator and the city of Spokane. So that transparency is very much baked into the RFP, and I hope that has been articulated by the CHHS department. And I think that to Zeke's point, that this is just kind of the first step to coming and giving some general updates, answering questions, and certainly if there's anything that we can answer in between those intentional meeting times like here, definitely let myself know, Zeke know, Lane. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that update and answering some questions. All right, we're going to go to item number 4, which is the amendment to the Hilliard Historic Business District nomination. Megan Duvall will brief us on that.
Right there in front of me. Good afternoon, Council. So I have a couple amendments, additions to the Hilliard Business District, and then a quick update on our interlocal agreement with the county. So, oops, down, right? Am I holding it upside down? Probably. I bet you that's what it was. That sure was. Easy fix. The Hilliard Historic Business District was originally comprised of 12 contributing buildings. A 13th was added in 2005, which was the Hilliard Post Office, and a 14th was added in 2023, which was the Hilliard Masonic Temple. These buildings represent the strongest concentration of early 20th century commercial historic buildings in downtown Hilliard. When the Hilliard Historic Business District was formed, each owner had to consent to listing and signing a management agreement, just like they were being individually listed, in order to form the district, as opposed to the way that we create districts today, which is that 50% of property owners agreeing plus one, and then the entire area is a district. So that's why we have to sort of do this a little bit differently. The amendment being proposed is to add 3 additional buildings, the Willerton's Diamond Photoplay Theater, the Willerton Block, and the Yukon Block. Oops. The Hilliard Downtown Spokane Register Historic District has been the social and commercial hub of Hilliard for over 100 years. The community of Hilliard developed as a railroad town for the hundreds of workers and their families who were employed at the Great Northern Railroad's Western Regional Terminal Facility, the internationally acclaimed rail yard that at one time manufactured the heaviest and most powerful steam locomotives in the world. The huge rail yard was constructed in 1892, the same year Hilliard was planned and platted. Stimulated by an enormous success of the rail center, the town of Hilliard thrived in its location adjacent to the Great Northern Yard. Hilliard Historic Business District was the center of the community and provided the town's necessary staples, sundries, and services such as food, clothing, shelter, business enterprise, and places for socializing. Through the first half of the 20th century, Hilliard continued to grow and adapt in response to changing patterns in government, commerce, and technology. The Hilliard Historic Business District illustrates these changes in tangible ways. As a whole, the district represents the physical evolution of the heart of a small working-class community developed in response to the construction and success of the Great Northern Railroad's distribution and manufacturing center. Willerton's Diamond Photoplay at 3019 East Diamond is a one-story brick structure constructed in 1911 for William Willerton. Originally opened as the Diamond Photoplay, it later became the Hilliard Class A Theater, and finally the Hilliard Liberty Theater. After the theater closed in the early 1920s, it was transformed into a cooperative store for railroad workers, then briefly served as a distribution point for Standard Oil. That sounds like a very Hilliard story, doesn't it? Like, we're just going to scrap along here and figure it out. By 1927, it was remodeled into an automobile showroom, before transitioning into various eateries, including Landry's Ice Cream Shop and Tim's Cafe. Since the 1960s, the building has primarily functioned as a retail space, most recently operating as a secondhand and antique store. Despite multiple alterations, the building retains elements of its historic architecture, including visible steel storefront supports. The Willerton Block, a short one-story brick building with a stepped cornice and modern storefront, was constructed in 1911 for William and Emma Willerton. Located at 3011 East Diamond Avenue, it was the first of 3 commercial buildings that they had developed. The facade features a recessed vestibule and an illuminated red dragon sign, while a portion of the wall from the demolished Rialto Theater is visible on the east end. So there were actually 2 theaters next to each other. Initially home to a 5, 10, and 15-cent store, the building transitioned through various businesses, including a confectionery and a variety store. By 1935, it became a beer parlor, hosting several bars over the years, with Jean's Tavern being one of the longest-running establishments. Since around 2010, it is operated as the Red Dragon Restaurant, continuing its legacy in food and beverage service. And finally, the Yukon Block is a 2-story formed concrete block building completed in 1907 for developer Mr. Eames at a cost of approximately $10,000. Constructed using cement blocks that simulate cut stone and brick, it features a decorative cast concrete cornice that shares architectural characteristics with nearby buildings like the Hilliard Laundry and Nebraska Building. The facade prominently displays the name Yukon and includes a recessed entrance, although the street-level appearance has been altered with diagonal wood siding, reminiscent of Buckaroo Revival styling. You guys learned something new today, Buckaroo Revival. Initially, Eames and his family occupied the upper floor, which later transitioned into single-room occupancy apartments. The ground floor has hosted various businesses over the decades, including the Bon Ton restaurant in the 1920s, You Need It Grocery in the 1930s, and several photo studios and shops through the mid-20th century, reflecting the building's adaptability to the community's changing needs. And you can see, this is actually an inside shot, the bottom left, that the transom windows are actually still intact. And one of the reasons the PDA for Hilliard is actually in this space is through coaxing by Jesse. They got the owner to agree to put it on the register, and they will be seeking facade improvement grants in order to remove that horizontal or that diagonal wood siding and hopefully expose those original transom windows that look like the glass is even intact. Landmarks Commission looked at this in October and recommended its listing. And should I just go into the next one? Okay. So you may or may not know that we have always, since 1980s, really early 1980s, 1982 to be exact, had an interlocal agreement between the Spokane County and the City of Spokane. We use one Landmarks Commission. The county has variously funded us, different amounts all the time. So I wanted to bring this to you. I don't know exactly how it's going to shake out at the county. I just wanted to have an urban experience touch, so hopefully we can get this done before the end of the year. We normally have had, well, we started out, we always had a 1-year agreement. So every year we had to go back to the Board of County Commissioners and ask for more money. Then we changed it to a 3-year agreement. I'm looking to have a 5-year agreement with the county. So that's what this is. And also, due to COVID and our last agreement, it ended in 2021. We had stayed at, I think we'd gone from 30,000 to 35 and 40 in 21, and then 22, 23, 24, we elected not to ask for an increase in our funding because of COVID, and we just weren't sure. We were negotiating right in the midst of COVID, and so we are asking for 2025 for them to give us a catch-up year of 50,000, and then just to increase by a modest amount of 2.5 each year, which we thought was a reasonable amount to ask. So anyway, so that's what the funding would look like. They're not sure that they want to go up to 50,000. So I did give them a presentation on a week ago Monday. And anyway, I just wanted you, this is, because I don't ever have the opportunity to really talk to you too much about our big incentive that we have as historic preservation. This was something I did also explain to the county, how important this is for the county's overall valuation of property. Since 2000, over 270 projects have put over $300 million into our economy. Just in the last 5 years, 66 projects for over $100 million that we've given incentives to property owners. This is an incentive that does not remove any dollars away from the county's funding. It's different than the multifamily tax exemption, which we actually sort of forego that tax money for the period. For special valuation, we actually have a slight tax shift, and Jim Habermail at the county assessor's office was nice enough to explain exactly what that means. Because I was like, how much does that mean for an average homeowner in Spokane? So really what it is for a property that's valued at $450,000 in Spokane, each year that property owner would pay about $4.39 more in order for us to be able to offer this incentive to property owners who are willing to put in a significant amount of their own funding. So anyway, I just wanted you guys to understand that as well. And then just a really quick sort of snapshot. So in 2023, we had 13 projects. So the pre-rehab assessed value, that's the middle column, that's $10 million, and that's just the building, not the land. The amount spent on the rehabs was over the amount that they were worth at the time, so 12 million plus. And the post-rehab valuation, so what we had in 2025 or what's coming up, is that now those properties that were worth only 10 million are now worth 18 million. Just to show that this does increase our overall tax benefits to everybody or to the county especially. So really, last slide, they are currently working on their budget at the county. We won't be able to finalize the interlocal agreement, but you have the general agreement in front of you in the packet. It's just that the dollar amounts might change a little bit before the county finishes. So I just wanted to throw that out there and answer any questions if you have any for me.
Council President.
I guess I know we have a lot of 5-year interlocal agreements. I just think with things changing so quickly, if locking ourselves into 5 years is the best strategy, as we have a number of interlocal agreements, I think they'll be in discussion with the county, and is there any play off of those going forward? So I look forward to their response to your requested increase. And is that actually keeping pace with the costs of the office of doing the work? That's been our question lately.
You know, it's definitely most of the work happens in the city. I will be honest. Most of our properties that we have listed are in the city, but we have increased the number of properties that we are listing in unincorporated county. And we've also come on with a couple small city interlocal agreements where we provide preservation services to those small cities for no cost to those small cities. So as we get more interlocal agreements, I think we will have to, have a little bit more of a reckoning with the county to say, hey, now we have 6 interlocal agreements. Right now we have 2 interlocals with Fairfield and Medical Lake. I had a call from Millwood just a few days ago who also are interested in potentially having an interlocal agreement. So I think we have some strategies to come to them in the future. I think this would certainly help. It would get us out to those communities more as well. There's only 2 of us, so we can only do so much. But but our grant for 2025 from the State Preservation Office is on Medical Lake specifically. So, we are putting a lot of our time into this year's grant.
Thanks.
Other questions?
Okay. Thanks so
All right,
much.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to go to the next items together. Sarah, if you want to do all the community centers first, and then you can do the Chase Youth Commission one after that. Thanks.
Council President, council members, can you hear me all right? Thank you. Thank you for your time. I presented last month about making a 1-year contract with the community centers, and I had a chance to go out and talk with each of them about that change and having it be very specific to the individual community centers and partnering with their partner agencies and organizations, and they were all very receptive to that. And so that's what we're moving forward now. We've met with them, they're receptive, and their contracts end December 31st, so that's one reason that we're trying to move this along so that we can get those approved, moved on. And then next year, we will work on a multi-year contract. So we'll have that opportunity to really engage with them and build those relationships with them.
Have there been changes then to these contracts from previous years?
So we changed so that they aren't giving reports that are quarterly. They're going to come and present to you biannually, which they were very very adamant that they have great relationships with the representatives that are in their districts, but they would love to have better relationships with all of you, and for all of you to know what they're doing, because they're doing some amazing things. And we did add a clause about the HVAC system in particular to the 3 that are city-owned, just so that we're making sure that they all know that we are requiring them to do the preventative maintenance, so that as long as they continue to do the preventative maintenance, then any breakage or anything of that, if that breaks down, then that's a large fix, and that's a large expense for a building that's owned to us. So we've put in a clause to make sure that they are doing the preventative maintenance work. And if they need the city to come out and do that, then we will take that from their award. And I did speak with all of them, and they are in agreement to that.
Any other questions? Council President?
So 1 year, nothing significant, and I know there's a funding component to all the 3. I guess I had heard chatter that after the end of the 1-year contract, that the city will be coming back looking at seeing their viability or the operators of those contracts. And I think, Sarah, that put a little angst in the community center world as to really what that looks like. So when will the year extends, when will you start developing these contracts? I guess so we really have the opportunity to have time and to review them.
I think with the timeline that I presented last month, kind of that March to May timeframe, we really want to do that community engagement side so that over the summer we're solidifying those multi-year contracts so that it's well in advance to be able to get them signed by the end of the year.
And currently, they were all 4 years, were they not? I think
Yes.
they were 4-year contracts.
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Anything else in the community centers? All right, can you do the Chase Youth Commission?
Yeah, so the Chase Youth Commission, this is another one that's a 4-year contract. This one had no changes at all, and they requested no changes. No increase in funding, no nothing. They just wanted the dates changed. So they wanted another 4-year contract. They like the option, they like having that significant time, not having to worry to have to come back for funding every year. And they're doing, I believe they're doing great work. I think each one of you has a mentee. And then they use that to help with the Chase Youth Awards as well. And they are just, they're very thankful and happy, and they're working with the county as well, and just want to continue on.
I think I was challenged. I do have a mentee, and that's been great, but really overall, what their work is and what are their outcomes and really how that's impacting the city. And exactly how much are we giving them?
I believe it's $45,000. I have to check on that, but I believe that's what's in the contract.
So I
And
think that's my challenge.
yeah, and what they're, so each person should have a mentee. They have a board, and these are youth. These are typically high school students. I think it's a 2-year term that they run on, and county also has. And so they're getting people together with the city and county. It's this engagement of these youth. They put on the Chase Youth Awards to help promote youth, supporting youth and what the youth are doing in the community to help raise that awareness. They also have specific community service projects, and so that's what some of that goes towards. The cost itself is for one staff person, the executive director, to kind of manage all of that, to help, you know, she attends every board meeting, she helps make sure that every one of you has a mentee, and then the one thing she's asked of the city is to help just make aware of any of those boards that have youth advisory positions so that we can make sure that they're open. I believe there's one currently on the bicycle committee, so I've present that to them to hopefully be able to get a lot of more of those filled, and to see if there's other ones where we could really engage the youth in our community with the civic process and understanding what happens at the local government.
I think it'd be very beneficial if they would come to council and make that request themselves.
I will make that suggestion.
And let us know what's going on and what their students are doing. I think it's a great program, but it's almost out of sight, out of mind. And so really, we want that engagement and the recruitment process. So we want to support them, but we can't if we don't know what they're doing.
I will definitely pass that message along.
I'll just mention that I went to the Chase Youth Awards last year, and I was, I think, 10 minutes late. There was nowhere to sit. I had to stand in the back, and that was at the Fox. So I think it's mostly like families and friends of the kids that are winning awards, but the projects sounded amazing, and the kids were showing up to watch their friends win those awards. So I was pretty impressed by the turnout.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you very much. All right, we're going to jump to the consent item number 12. Oh, that was 12. Item number 1, the Vistas at Beacon Hill Development Agreement. I believe Melissa is briefing us on that.
Thank you. Good afternoon. This is really just a very brief update on that item. I had worked to update the developer agreement for the progress that they had made. And one item I will be updating before it comes before you for your council hearing, and that is related to the park and ride. So they have met that term of the conditions of that old agreement. So you'll see that as an update on there. So that impacts recital I and term number 4, just an FYI on that. And then they are so close to having their plat ready for recording, this may end up getting pulled before it actually gets to hearing. So another just quick update on that, that we just wanted to make sure that they did get through plat recording while they had a developer agreement in place, so we didn't let that expire. Any questions for me?
All right.
All right,
very
thank you.
much. All right, Nicolette, you're up for an update about the homelessness roundtables.
Hello, council. All right, so let's go through some of what we've done at the roundtables. First of all, we've had a couple so far, and we still have a couple coming up. September 10th was the first one. We did an overview of the Spokane Municipal Code with respect to the sections that govern things like unlawful camping, sit and lie, pedestrian interference, shelter siting, activation criteria for inclement weather centers. And what should also be on there is the employment protections about the address that you see that we went over in more detail on October 1st, and the Good Neighbor Agreement. October 22nd, we discussed the shelter siting for city-owned shelters, activation criteria for inclement weather centers. And November 7th, unauthorized camping. We also discussed some of the safe stay initiatives, including safe parking and permitted encampments. Coming up, we have one on the 19th where we'll discuss sit and lie and pedestrian interference. And then on the 10th, we'll have a town hall style with a draft. And I put that in scare quotes because it's really going to be kind of a bullet point style. We thought maybe it would be best not to bog folks down with the edited code, but to give kind of a higher overview of what we've done so far and then some of those proposed changes. I also want to point out that kind of a process piece that we did when going through this. And, you know, I feel like we've enhanced it as we've gone. But the idea was to give out a set of pre-reading materials before the meeting for folks to look over the Spokane Municipal Code and some additional pieces that we wanted them to have time to reflect on. And then during the meeting, having, you know, a brief education section, and of course the norm setting so that everybody is playing by the ground rules, and then going into various surveys with the section specific to that topic for that evening, and then doing a lot of group share before they actually take those surveys, and then reporting out to the group afterwards. And then Jackson, can you go to the next slide? All right, so here are some of the key takeaways from some of these pieces. For the Good Neighbor Agreement, one of the key takeaways are really like they cared about the entities that would be in the agreement, the boundaries of the agreement, and the requirements of neighborhood council meeting attendance. And so with respect to the entities, the consensus from the stakeholder groups were that the city of Spokane, the service provider and or shelter operator, and the neighborhood council should be the entities of that Good Neighbor Agreement. And the consensus, again, among the stakeholder group that we engaged with were that the boundaries ought to be the immediate facility property boundaries. And this was with the understanding that the Good Neighbor Agreement should be the kind of document that could be legally binding. And neighborhood council meeting frequency as requested within reason. Typo, that's okay. And so the idea with the within reason was that we didn't want to make it a barrier to the agencies to doing their regular job if a neighborhood council kind of went wackadoo and says you have to beat all of them, and you have to, you not only beat all of them, you have to bring cookies and all of that jazz. So. With respect to what we have called the Bill of Rights in the past, which was never the official title of it, but it did fit in that little bucket right there on the top, so I made it easier for the slide deck. But also it's kind of what the community has been calling these things. So there's fairly broad support for the employment protections ban the address ordinance. And the housing status as a protected class should be addressed at the state. I put an asterisk there because it seemed like the consensus of that stakeholder group, again, to be specific, was that they really didn't want the elected officials to be the ones to address it at the state, nor did they want you guys to address it at the city. And so that was an interesting set of survey results to receive. And we could talk about that more as, in case you guys are curious what other outside groups are doing with respect to that, as you get ready to address your priorities for the next legislative session. All right, with activation criteria, again, this is the activation criteria for inclement weather centers. This was probably one of my favorite of the events that we did, and even of the set of research that Jackson and I did to get that stakeholder feedback. And after showing the data and having folks take the survey and the discussions, including a very cool dot exercise, the community stakeholders concluded that changing temperature to indices was the way forward. That had extremely broad support. I mean, it was just like maybe one person really was the outlier in that. There also was a desire to prioritize days with extreme cold over extreme heat. We do have more days that are extreme cold versus extreme heat. And after looking at the data and anecdotally talking to Dr. Manriquez about the number of injuries he sees in extreme cold weather events versus hot weather events, the community stakeholders that we engage with also agreed that the prioritization of those extreme cold days over extreme heat days were going to be important. When we were asking them questions about this, we used it with the resource capacity in mind, and that is that we didn't have a whole lot of resources. And this is before the recommendation to use $800,000 in 1590 money to supplement the budget toward inclement weather centers. And so we really framed this feedback to the community as a resource issue, and that we only had $250,000. And so when we had them do these prioritization exercises, another thing we came out with was that they wanted to prioritize the number of days over the number of beds, which I thought was interesting. All right, then with respect to the camping and safe stay, I just want to put out there that I think that what we might end up doing at the next roundtable is doing a little bit of review on that to make sure we got some of those educational pieces completely shored up, because we have been doing these on a very fast timeline, and I think that probably could have done a better job of communicating that to the public, made it aware during and after the event that we could have done a little bit more level setting so that the community had a bit of a background on that. Regardless, we did have the survey and we did have the discussions with the community on this piece, and by and large, the surveys showed that the community said that penalties, which included fines and jail time, were not effective. And we did have a higher number of businesses at this event than at some of the previous ones. And so I think it'll be interesting when you guys go through, and I'll talk about the interactive survey results in a minute. When you go through the survey results, we ask a stakeholder question at the very beginning, so you can kind of see the stakeholders that are answering some of these questions. With respect to the Safe Stay initiatives, the majority rated it as very supportive, but when you averaged all of the supports, because they were asked to rate between 1 and 5, it really scored average overall. So, and to me that, I think might also be an artifact of the level setting or lack thereof that we did. I think we could have done more, and those questions probably would have been answered with a little bit more nuance, but I think we learned a lot from how that went. Now, with respect to shelter siting, the top priorities for requirements in a shelter siting process or policy, as the stakeholders have identified, would be the requirement of a good neighbor agreement, requiring at least one community meeting before siting the shelter, equity subcommittee review, and a transparent site search. When you go through some of these data results, you can see how they ranked them and how those scored. And then next slide. All right, so some things coming soon. With respect to the data and the drafts, we're going to be putting together some infographics for some of the data and core research, so it's really easy for you guys to understand what that research produced and what the data looks like. And then there's going to be an interactive stakeholder survey results, which you guys can already access because you have City of Spokane email addresses. The larger community cannot, but we're building that in a way that they can, and so that we can build this also comprehensive roundtable stakeholder engagement report that really shows what we've given the stakeholders through the process, what the survey results were, what the data and research they've shown were, what the key findings that we're taking away from it, and the sort of drafts of the policies. This is very exciting to me because I feel like this has been one of the most robust and data-driven processes we've done. with respect to trying to approach changes to policy. Yeah, it's been a little clunky here and there. Yeah, we can do it better next time. But because we did it like the way we did it, we'll be able to make those improvements and hopefully perhaps come up with something like a stakeholder engagement template to make it easier for you guys to do this kind of thing in the future. And then, of course, also to be looking forward to the draft bullet points for proposed code changes, which Chris Wright and I have already started to draft some of those bullet points based on some of the recommendations from the community. And in our future one-on-ones, we can also discuss those to make sure to get some of your guys' input in plenty of time to be ready for the town hall, which will be December 10th. And again, we're going to want to push out some of those drafts to that group or to the community, I'm hoping, before that, at least a week before that, or a couple days before that. So we'll have to send some, additional deadlines if you want to get it into that packet. And then the next one, again, sit in line, pedestrian interference. We're going to build, it's going to be a really comprehensive, data level setting set at the, or educational set at the beginning to make sure we don't miss any of the key pieces, and then have a similar survey as to what we had last time. We are hoping to get some things from the administration that might help inform that presentation on sit and lie and pedestrian interference. And in the meantime, if you guys have any questions that you are adamant that you'd want the community to be asked with respect to sit and lie or pedestrian interference, please let me know, and we'll try to get that into the survey. All right. So, questions?
I just have a concern, a question we'll have to look at with the Good Neighbor Agreement. As we partner with a third-party entity like Empire Health Foundation that does that work, how much do we lean in on, as Councilmember Cathcart was asking, input into how they were cited, what that Good Neighbor Agreement looks like, and really the role that the city's playing when it's being operated by a third party, which is not new, it's happened in the past. But really we have to give that some consideration, I think, as we go forward.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think that even the last draft of the Good Neighbor Agreement, you could see just how dysfunctional it was, and I think that the goal is to try to get some of the key pieces, which are that open line of communication, those reasonable expectations set, and then I'm sure Chris could speak more to what you're talking about, that very fine nuance that's required when you're creating a document that is legally binding between various entities.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, and on that, I mean, I think there has to be actual teeth to any sort of good neighbor agreement, and I think that would include, nuisance enforcement, right? If you're violating that, then you are most likely perpetuating a nuisance situation in the neighborhood, and it needs to be dealt with, and that's the whole point of the Good Neighbor Agreement, is to prevent the nuisance activity from taking place in the first place. I just want to read something really quick and get your feedback on what the opinion of this group is on how to address it. This is from a constituent, quote, "I approached the camp to get a closer look and engaged with the man and tried the neighborly approach that our homeless advocates tend to ask us all to do. It was a friendly conversation, but there was feces and trash all around. I called 311 and crime check to no avail. He told me, quote, he isn't interested in services and that he knew what he was doing was illegal and doesn't care because he stands up for what he believes in." So for an individual like that, what would this group propose that we do?
We haven't asked that question to that group. I think it's an interesting question.
I mean, I think that is the question, right? That is probably the biggest issue we are facing, are the individuals who reject services and want to live their lifestyle inside an urban environment where that's not conducive.
Absolutely. And for every counterexample, we can find one on the other side, right? Where it's the person who's like, yes, please, this is what I've been waiting for, services. Yes, please help me right now, right? But I do think that this is the kind of question that can be asked, and we can figure out a way to ask it. Maybe it's like reading that or putting that statement in the passage and then asking a question like, what should we be doing in this context for this person, right? Or, something similar. And we can ask that in the survey for sit line pedestrian interference, where presumably this kind of situation would be the kind of situation we're talking about right here, right?
And then the other thing is, I think words matter, and it's great branding, the whole safe sleep thing, but at the end of the day, you're just talking about permissive camping, right? I mean, that's really what we're talking about, is just what is illegal today, making that legal to do tomorrow. And so I think we have to be upfront with the community when we say, those words, what we're actually meaning.
Sure. Safe stay and safe parking sites is kind of piggybacking from the language that other cities in the state of Washington use to describe these things. We did make sure that when we were talking about permitted encampment, it was called permitted encampments. And so.
Yeah, that should not be
Yeah.
a permissible
If you
thing.
have we can just call it what it is. If you have a better phrasing of it, it's a little bit easier for us to refer to it the way that other cities do, so that if you are researching it, that will pop up. And we can caveat, we've been trying to do a really good job of saying, hey, especially with the Prop 1 stuff, yes, we're putting Prop 1 question on here, but we can't, change that. And we could do better about educating them so that they don't feel like they're being bewitched by some sort of euphemism.
Any other questions, comments? Councilmember?
I'll just say thank you for all of this. It's been really helpful, I think, to lay this out, and you and Jackson have been doing a tremendous job. And someone did remark to me that when the time, does come and we're moving on these ordinances, that this will be one of the most consequential actions that this body's ever taken. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it has been a lot of hard work, and I do appreciate all of Jackson's help. Wouldn't have been able to do it without him.
I'll respond to Councilmember Cathcart's email. I still say if that person's breaking the law, they're breaking the law. Now, how the police respond to that, we don't have any control, but if they're breaking the law, then the law, as always, should be enforced to the best of our abilities.
I'll just add one more kind of piece to that, too. I think the question of folks that refuse services, and that is I think a bigger data piece that I'm always interested in how that also connects with a lot of our other systems, including municipal court. And I do think, hopefully, too, throughout some of this, we can also get a better idea of how big that population is to better, I think, enforce laws and address needs.
Councilmember Klitzky?
I think just on that front, I think what Councilmember Cathcart is describing is illegal camping, which is a little different than sit and lie. And the discussion about the safe camping would obviously be at a designated site. So whether you agree it's a good long-term tactic or not, if I had somebody who was illegally camping near my home or business, I would rather see them camping at a designated site where there were some controls and some offering of services. But I think we do still have to deal with the bigger question of folks chronically refusing services. Where's our end game on that?
Yeah, and one interesting sort of artifact of watching Camp Hope go the way that it did, and yes, there were issues with businesses surrounding. Once they got the fence up, things got a little bit better. Yeah, it wasn't perfect. But one of the things I thought was fascinating about what we could learn from that is that it became much easier for service providers to find their clients because they knew where they were. They were at Camp Hope, right? And so some of those clients who were ready for services and who did want to, access those were able to get housing much quicker because the service providers didn't have to go find them on the streets. Be like, hey, is anybody seeing so-and-so, and then they're hunting for him all day, can't find him, and then, his housing option's gone, and now he's, back to the bottom of the list, or whatever that looks like. And so there is another sort of artifact of these safe stay sites where it's like, okay, well, that's where your client's going to be, and that's where you can find them, and they're not on the street. And that's one of the reasons why some of these cities have had the safe parking sites was to get the RVs off the street. That was their only option, and that was their only sort of tool in the toolbox they could see to use. Were there any other questions?
All right, thank you. And I would say part of the discussion on this particular item yesterday was, if not on the street right here, where do they go? And that's been the struggle for a long time, I think. As we heard earlier with the presentation earlier, where do people go? It's a struggle. But thank you for your work, and Jackson, and all council staff that's been staffing these. It's been really appreciated and helpful. And also council members that have gone. Thanks, Councilmember Bingle, for making it to the last one. We're going to go to our boards and commission updates, reports. Nicolette, did you have anything else you wanted to report about your work in general? No, I was going to say, I think this is pretty encapsulating of a lot of Nicolette's work for the last month or so. We'll go to the Housing Action Subcommittee, Councilmember Navarrete.
Yeah, Amy Manning presented on SLIHC slam bank legislation on their other legislative priorities.
Neighborhood Council Work Group, Councilmember Cathcart Dillon Klitzky.
Talked about cleaning up neighborhood council bylaws, ongoing discussion about kind of code of conduct, community assembly, and also feedback on what happens when a neighborhood council passes a resolution to council.
Any questions? All right. CHHS board.
Yeah, some of what we went over, council had seen, so the 2025 CDBG plan, inclement weather plan, and then also a discussion on the, an update about the council roundtables.
Community assembly, I don't know if anyone else went besides Councilmember Wilkerson. Not our council president. Comp plan amendments is done. We're actually going to be voting on that soon. Human Rights Commission.
Yeah, so Andres notified the commission that the youth membership ordinance is in place and they are not able to recruit additional commissioners. He also introduced a bilingual and multilingual recruitment ordinance and gathered feedback from the commission. Commissioners' election took place. Alex Knox will be the new chair. Brennan Schreibman will be the vice chair. Livia Coe will continue as secretary and treasurer. Sue McFadden will be the committee lead for Civic Impact Committee. And we will be interviewing Justice Foral today for a position as a Human Rights Commissioner.
Thank you. What was the next one? Plan Commission.
So they met on October 23rd and discussed their Transportation Commission liaison. They did some follow-up talking about the building opportunity for housing, and they have an amendment coming up that'll be coming before us. And they looked at 27 by 27, which we have already seen, and they're starting to discuss their work plan for 2025.
Public partnership, an update if you all haven't heard from Garrett yet, but parks and schools have been in conversation about updates for the park levy and the school bond and trying to make that more efficient of services, but also better bang for your buck, I guess, on how they can build together. So that will be coming up to us later this month on an update on that. And the Parks levy is scheduled for the ballot in February. And I believe the Parks Board already took action on that. Is that right, Councilmember Bingle? They haven't taken action yet, okay. But they're scheduled to take action. I think they're going to take action, and then it's going to come to us for an update after they're on Thursday this week. So that'll be coming to us later. Downtown Spokane Bid Board.
So just update, yes, Park Board is Thursday. Bid Board has our annual joint meeting with DSP on Wednesday.
DSP?
Board meeting's coming up, but so we haven't had that yet. We had a policy meeting, mostly just discussing kind of is right after the election, so we're just talking about the results of Prop 1 and a lot of advocacy for investments downtown from those dollars. And then the only other thing that I would say is there's a big holiday celebration coming up on November 23rd, which will be a lot of fun. DSP is a part of it, as well as Visit Spokane. And it's called the Merry and Magical Holidays Downtown. And I know there's supposed to be a big kickoff with Santa and the sleigh and all kinds of stuff for the family and kids, so it'll be a lot of fun.
East Sprague Board.
Yeah, trying to figure out, I think, some of the budget issues related to district cleanup. There is a ARPA request just around kind of clean green and obviously very grateful for the allocation of the funding for replacement garbage cans, but now also looking at a lot of the maintenance around tree repair. So ongoing on how to come up and cover those costs.
GMA Steering Committee?
We meet on November 13th, and I don't think we've had any action since the last time we reported.
Launch Northwest. I know that's been conflicting with me. I don't know if Councilmember Navarrete, have you been able to attend? No. It's conflicting time there. Library Board.
Discussing the budget.
Park Board.
Yeah, we had our retreat last month, or not last month, but in the last couple of weeks, discussing what taking action on probably this Thursday. Talking about some land use policies for Spokane Parks and how we wanted to move forward with that. Defining what, the benefit is to the city when it comes to, when somebody wants some portion of parkland or wants something from parks, how do we define what the benefit is to the city and to the taxpayer? Went over a bunch of, again, strategic goals for next year, and yeah, that was Park Board.
Priorities Spokane.
Let's see, we are meeting on Wednesday, but at our last meeting, made further progress around the discussion of a child care pilot project. One of the big topics of discussions at the last meeting was retention amongst child care providers. I was fairly shocked to learn that the average turnover rate is about 1 year for a provider in Spokane.
Regional Homeless Authority.
The last meeting, we discussed an interlocal agreement that would really focus on data sharing. One of those would be a partnership with the health district. I think this came up at our, was it 2 study sessions ago, about the HMIS data that would really have a publicly facing dashboard looking at the referrals intake in our provider network for the county, the city, and the valley. We did not get enough time, I think, to discuss more about the standalone entity, but it feels like there is more momentum gaining that direction.
We also confirmed that the city of Spokane spends about $3 million a year from our general fund on homelessness initiatives.
Spokane Arts.
Well, big news. Discussing about what it would look like to pull Spokane Arts back into the city. There was a press conference from the mayor of Spokane Arts last Wednesday, and how that would look like over the next 6 months.
All right. That wraps up the end of our Urban Experience Committee. The next one we will have will be December 9th. So we'll see everyone back at briefing. So.